Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Coach Neal here with Soldier Up Sports, and today we're going to talk about why this area keeps getting boat raced when it comes to baseball, fast pitch, or football. It's easy. We don't train or we don't train right. But before we get into that, let's set the record straight. When it comes to competitive sports, and I mean competitive sports, it is not about developing players during the season. Player development is something that takes place in training, in the off season, 8 to 10 months out of the year. It's not something that parents pay their money, sign up to play, and then all of a sudden it begins. Competitive sports is about winning. And regardless of what any tackle, football, baseball, or fast pitch team tells you about their record, which tournament they placed in, we have never won or placed where the good teams play. Because when we play the good teams, baseball and fast pitch scores, they look like football scores. It's ridiculous. And when it comes to football, tackle football, it's like, how fast can you count to 50? Like, that's what happens when we actually get out here and we play these good teams. And it's not because we don't have the talent. We got tons of talent. It's just there's only two things when it comes to sports. There's trained and there's untrained. And our kids are not being trained to the level that they need to be at in order to succeed. Why? Because team practice and training are not the same thing. Not even close. Training is where athletes, develop their individual skill, transform their weaknesses into strengths into higher levels of performance, become proficient at the sport they love to play, and ultimately become monsters. Team practice is where they come together as a team, learn the coach's system, learn how to execute that system, and then prepare to go out there as a team and implement that system. So when you have a head coach whose job is to win, especially at the competitive sports level, it's not about development for him. A head coach's job in competitive sports is to win. But when this coach has to train all of his players up to a competitive ready level, he's behind the curve. He's doing the job of the trainer and the coach, which is impossible. And that coach is never going to be able to do his job, which is to win, especially when the mentality of the parents and sometimes even the athletes themselves is that they don't need to be training or preparing 8 to 10 months out of the year. Just sign them up, and when the season rolls around, then it's time to get to work. But if you're waiting for the season to start, for your athlete to develop and get better at the sports he or she plays, what are you doing? They're never going to be ready. You got to understand, at the competitive level, it seems like everywhere else except for here, these kids are grinding year round. There's no way in the world that we're going to be able to compete with kids grinding year round. Parents who value, their athletes excelling at sports and have them going from, training session, batting lesson, pitching lesson, football training session, then to team practice. We can't compete with that because we're approaching it like, we only need to focus on the sport for 2-3 months out of the year. But no, that's when the season begins. And now it's time to get ready for the season, not take a kid with 2 left feet or a kid who, is afraid to initiate contact or fill the gap or run downhill. That's not when it's time to teach the kid how to do those things when the season's starting. He's already got to have those skills. He's already got to be ready to do that kind of stuff. And now when he comes to team practice, the head coach should basically just be refining that kid's skills in his system, not teaching him how to play. It's too late. There's no time for that. So for everybody out here, beating their chest, talking about, we won this tournament, we won in this league, we won in that division, we beat this team, we beat that team. It's time to tell the truth. We never won where the good teams play. You know it, I know it, and now it's time for the parents to know it too. And as for me, I want to see Colleen on the map. I want to see him competing and winning against the best teams, not just being the best bad team in the area. So after years of coaching teams and running organizations, I've realized that this area doesn't need more teams. The teams in this area need monsters. And that's why I started Monsters, Inc., the best football, baseball, and fast pitch training program in this area, period. And yeah, I know there's a lot of haters out there, but what they'll never tell you is when I call them and tell them I got a solid athlete for them, they know it's the truth. And you might mess around and get a refund. Coach Neal, Soldier Up Sports, Monsters, Inc. Stop lying about your team's accomplishments. Stop lying to these parents. Start promoting real training. And let's put Colleen on the map.